In this video, I'm going to do a walkthrough or a workthrough, I guess, of c3p4 and c3p5. Those are the two programs that had to do with files. Okay, so the files, they show up early in this textbook compared to some other textbooks, and they're a little more complicated than other things that we've dealt with. And they put them in because it's the chapter on input and output and about the streams. So I think in looking ahead at the textbook, we're going to see them again eventually. So it's important that you understand them, but we're not going to see them immediately. Okay. So on this first one here, so let me get to where I can type c3p4 dot cpp. So I've gone ahead and put the basics in here, and the basics being that we have to include the IO stream as we always do. If we're doing a file, we have to include F stream. And then because we want to set the precision of the doubles that we're going to write to the file, we're going to have to include the IO manip so we can do the fixed and the set precision. Okay. And then we have my user or have our user namespace standard as always and our int main with return 0. Okay. So beyond this, it's a good idea. And sometimes we forget this. I go ahead and put a comment to declare variables. I can find the V key. Okay. And of course, I need a comment block at the top that I'm just not going to take the time to put. This may be kind of a long video anyway. Okay. So for this, we have to start with declaring variables for the file itself. Okay. So in this particular one, so I didn't say what this one does, but what this program does, it allows you to enter first name, last name, a salary, and an increase for that salary into a file. Okay. So we're not going to have any input file in this one, only an output file. We're going to write to a file. Okay. So for that, we're going to create a variable of OF stream. That's going to be the type we want. And the book calls it out data. We can call it out data. You can call it whatever you want. Doesn't really matter. Out data works. Might as well do that. Okay. So we're also going to need a string here for first name and last name. I think the book has it last name, first name, but it doesn't matter to me as long as you're consistent. And you have to be consistent. The way you read it in and write it out has to be the same. It's going to give you trouble. Okay. And then we're going to have a couple of doubles for the salary and then the salary increase. And the book has it, and I'll just continue to store that as a percent, which means we're going to have to divide it by 100 when we go to actually use it in the program. Okay. So you could also, if you wanted, have the user input it as a percent and then immediately divide it by 100 and store it that way. But I'm going along with what the book's doing here. Okay. So that's the first section. The next section we have to open our file, in this case for output. Okay. So my out data, I'm going to open that. We're going to open the file. EMP increase, I think is what it's supposed to be called, txt. Okay. We've got that open. That should be ready to go. Okay. Then it's simply a matter of we need to enter the data and write to the file. Okay. Now, since I've opened it, I'm going to go ahead and put in the close file down here because I tend to forget that. Okay, so let's do it. Data close, just so I don't forget. Okay. So entering the data is fairly straightforward here. So because we're entering 3 different employees, again, we would do more employees, but we don't know how to do loops yet, and that would get really ugly. In fact, I'm just going to do 2 in my example. If you can do 2, you can do 100 if you spend enough time. Okay. Notice I don't have a first name 1, first name 2, first name 3. You can do that if you like, but there's not really any need to. I'm going to ask the user for the first employee's first name, and then I'll later ask them for the second employee's first name and just reuse that variable. Okay. We don't need to worry about that too much. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and type in here. First thing I'm going to say first employee, just so I can keep track. Okay. I'm then going to put a \T to tab it over. Okay. And then from that, I should be able to type in enter first name or just first name. Okay. With a colon space. Okay. I can then CN with our normal C out CN into first name. And again, the book tends to call things like that. If you like that better, you do you, but I like the camel cap as it's called. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing again, but since I have, um, so this is going to put the first employer on the left. It's going to tab over to ask for the first name, first employee, sorry. So I'm going to put another tab, but I suspect I'm going to need a couple of tabs. Tab goes, I think, 5 spaces. So I'm going to need at least 2 to get me over. We can always change that when we run it. Okay. So just add that as part of the string, and that's the backslash, and then do the last name. Put a space there to make it nice looking. Okay, do a CN, last name. Okay, then again, do a C out, tab, salary, colon space, semicolon, CN salary, then a C out, tab, increase, or salary increase. And then CN. Okay, so that should get all of the data that we need. If you want, you can go ahead and put a test in here. And this is going to be ugly because I'm not going to put spaces because I don't care. First name, last name, salary. Okay, just make sure my files are working and everything. We're just opening and closing, but we should be okay. Okay, so if I'm going to compile this, let me get the right one. There we go. Looks okay. I'll do my c3p4.exe. And that's the first name. Let's do Bob Smith 234.56 and do an increase of 7. Okay. And you see, I didn't put the spaces, but there's a Bob Smith 1234.56 and the 7 at the end. So I think we're okay. Okay. And the 2 tabs was the right call, and it must be more than 5 spaces. But anyway, if not, this last employee would have gone over here. So I think this looks a little better. Okay. Um, your mileage may vary on that. Okay. So now if I go back into the program here, I'm happy with that part of it. So I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. Okay. And now I'm going to write the data to the file. Okay. So to do that, remember it works just like the out data works like a C out. Okay. So I'm just going to replace the C out with out data. What am I going to send to out data? I'm going to start by sending the fixed and the set precision to 2. Okay. That's the first thing. Remember, both of those are going to set it for the stream until you change it. Okay, so that's all we have to worry about there. I'm going to go ahead and put a new line character here or hit return, and that just, I haven't hit a semicolon, so I'm still on the same line. Okay, so what do I want to send? I'm going to send the first name first. Again, you can do it in different order if you want. Have to remember to put a space in there. Okay, I'm going to send the last name. And again, I'm just putting spaces here or putting new lines here just to make it line up a little better. Putting salary, make it more readable. Space, putting the increase and a new line. Okay. So that's the basic idea. Okay. That's going to do one person. So let's make sure that's working for one person. Okay. So I'm going to go back up and compile it. So far, so good. I'm going to run it. Put in Bob, put in Smith, With a salary of 1,2,3,4.56, salary increase of 7. Okay. Now I should have, so I can do a more on the imp increase.txt, and we see that we have Bob Smith 1,2,3,4.56, and we have 7.00. Put everything to two decimal places. So we're good. Okay, I feel pretty good about that. So I can now go back, and you just need to copy all of this. Okay, so copy the input all the way down to where we're writing it to the file. That's a bunch of control Ks. Keep hitting control K. Don't hit anything in between. Just a bunch of control Ks. Control Y, hit enter, enter, control Y again. I've now got 2 copies of that. Okay. And the only thing I need to change for the second one here, if you tab, it'll fix that part. I'm now going to say second employee. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and add another new line character, \n there. Okay. Let's run this now. First name, we want Bob Smith. Salary of, let's do 10,000. And do a salary increase of 5. Okay. I want to make these easy to calculate if they're really working. Oddly, did I not recompile? I didn't recompile. Why didn't it do that? There we go. Now let's try it. Okay, so let's do Bob Smith for 10,000. .00, salary increase of 5. And see here, it skips down because it's the second employee. Okay, let's do Alice. Let's do Johnson. Let's do a salary of 2,000.00. And let's do a salary increase of her for 7%. Okay. And we're done. Okay. We could add a message at the end, finish processing or whatever, but I think that's okay as it is. Okay. So now let's look at the EMP increase again. And we see that we've got the 2 records here. The salaries look correct, and the increase looks correct. Okay, it's on a new line. We have spaces between it. We should be ready to go. Okay, so that's the first part. So now let's go through and look at the second part. Okay, and again, I've got just the basics here. So in the second part, we're going to have to open up the EMP increase that we just created as an input file. Okay, we're then going to read in the data. We're going to calculate that new salary increase. We're going to write first name, last name, and new salary to a new file called impsalaries.txt. Okay, so that's the basic idea. So this should be a shorter program, right? Okay, so again, the first thing always to think about in a program is to declare our variables. In C++, we only have to declare variables right before we use them, so you don't have to put them all at the top. But I find that the readability is better, and you just kind of get a feel of what's going on better if you put the variables up here in the front. Okay. So this time I'm going to have an IF stream variable called indata. Again, using the book's terminology. An OF stream called out data. Okay. And note that I'm including the IO manip again. I don't think I need it on this. Oh, yeah, I do, because I'm going to write to another file. Yeah, I do need it. Okay. It doesn't hurt if you include it if you don't need it, by the way. Okay. Again, I'm going to need a string for first name, last name. And I'm going to need a double for salary, increase, and new salary. Okay. So we have to calculate that new salary. Okay. I'm then going to open files, this case there too. So I'm going to do my indata.open on the imp increase.txt. Okay, and then the out data.open is on imp salary. Is it salary or salaries? Let me take a look real quick. Salaries. .txt. Okay. I just looked over at Canvas real quick, which you couldn't see. Okay, so both those are open. I'm going to go ahead before I forget, do the close files. Which is our in data close, out data close. Okay. I'm then going for each employee to read in data, going to calculate salary, write data to file. So those are the basic steps. Okay. So remember the in data works like a CN. So say in data instead of a CN, and remember the arrows go toward the variable name. Okay, so first name. I'm going to do the last name because that's how I wrote it to the file. Do a salary, and I'm going to do a new salary. Okay, that should read in all my data. Okay, if you want, again, I can go ahead and do a C out here. First name, again, this is going to be ugly with no spaces. Last name, salary. Oh, there's no new salary. Increase is what I want here. Okay. In fact, you can go ahead and if you like to read the file more fully, copy those, pasted them twice. Okay. I don't want to keep that, but I can change those to fives. I could put those in there just because that should let us know that we're reading in from the file correctly. Okay. And it does. It's ugly, but there's the Bob Smith, the 10,005, Alice Johnson, 20,007. So it's all there. Again, it's ugly. I didn't put new lines because I'm not going to keep it. What is that doing to me now? I don't know. When I didn't put a new line, it did weird things. There we go. That looks better. Okay. So I can go back into my program now. Okay. So I don't want either of these. In fact, I'm going to get rid of them. So I'm going to do that. There we go. You get the shift instead of the um, control. It gives you those. Okay. So I've got the data now. Okay. So I now need to calculate my new salary equals. Okay. It's going to be the salary times. Okay. What's it going to be multiplied by? Okay. If it's five, I need to get into 5% by saying the increase divided by 100. Okay. But that's just going to give me the increase. If I want to add in what that actually is, it's going to be 1 plus the increase divided by 100. Okay. You can break that up if you wanted and say increase is equal to increase divided by 100 and then do that times the salary. Okay. So in other words, for five, I need if it's a 5% increase, the increase itself it would be multiplied by 0.05. But to get the increase plus the other amount, it would be multiplied by 1.05. And I'm getting the one here plus the increase divided by 100 is the 0.05 in the first example. Okay. And again, I can put in here if I want to test, do C out on the salary. It's a little more readable. And then I'm going to put out the increase. Okay. Then a space. And then I'm going to put out the new salary. Okay. We should be able to do that math then to make sure it's correct. Okay. Let's see if that works. Compile all that again. Gonna run it. Okay. So we've got 10,000 here is the old salary. Okay. And 5 is the new salary. So if I get out my trusty calculator on my phone, if I say 10,000 times 1.05, I should get 10,500, which I'm getting. Okay. So that's correct. So I'm now confident that that's working. So it's important that you test your data. When I run these programs, I'm going to put in data that I've tested on a test case. Okay. And if your answers aren't correct, especially if they're way off, you're going to lose points for that. Okay. So I'm now confident that that's working. So all it's left to do is to the out data. Okay. I'm going to write this new information. Okay. Out data goes that way. Okay. So I'm writing to the file. I'm going to write in again the fixed, the set precision, set to 2. Then I'm going to write in first name, space, last name, space, and I'm going to write in the new salary. That's it. Okay. So make sure it works for one. Pilot, run it. Now, if I do a more on the imp salaries.txt, you see that I've got Bob Smith with the new salary that we just calculated to be correct. Okay. So we're all good. So now I can go back into the program. And here's what we did for that first person. Okay. So I can just copy all this. Puts it over. And if you want, it's not a bad idea. This is first employee. This is second. Just so it's clear in your code. So I'm writing it, closing it. So see, we got that. So now I'm going to compile it again to run it. Okay. And now we've got our imp increase that we had from before. Okay. We have our imp salaries. Okay. So the numbers look correct. We can calculate the second one as well. Okay. If you take 20,000 times 1.07, you should get 21,400, and you get 21,400. Okay. So that should be correct. Should be good. Okay. So that's what it except for the comment block at the top, that's what a 10 would look like. Okay. There are other ways to do this that are perfectly fine, but I just wanted to give you an idea as to how I would have solved that problem.